What is up? It's Trent here doing a very special review, one that I've been dying to do. I'm literally just boom, bursting out of the seams to talk about this one. And you already know what it is. It's going to be a review on Beyond Two Souls, a game developed by Quantic Dreams. So just to keep things fair, I have set a little bit of a prerequisite here, and that prerequisite is I'm not going to be mentioning Heavy Rain a lot within this review, which is quite common sense because they're two completely different games. But it's developed by the same team. And as you probably already know, Heavy Rain is one of my favourite games of all time. It was a game that really introduced me to a different level of storytelling within gaming, and it proved to me that gaming is a perfectly able piece of art. And with this in mind, I'm going to be going into this review very open-minded, and I'm only going to be mentioning Heavy Rain once. So, the question that you're probably asking yourselves is, Trent, did you think the game held a candle up to Heavy Rain? Let's have a closer look at the story and find out. The story of Beyond puts you directly in the shoes of Jodie Holmes, a young woman who, since birth, possesses a rather extraordinary gift. And her gift allows her to communicate with an unknown entity called Aiden, who has haunted Jodie's life since birth, but simultaneously guides and protects her. At the age of 8, Jodie is separated from her foster parents, and she is placed under watch in a facility where she is observed by Doctors Cole Freeman and Nathan Dawkins. It is here they hope to decipher Jodie's mysterious and seemingly unbreakable connection with Aiden. The story is delivered in a, how should we say it, a fractured style over a timeline, very reminiscent of films such as The Grudge. It chronicles the events within Jodie's life in a non-linear fashion, often switching between her early childhood, her adolescent years, and her adult life. Whether it be Jodie's more private and intimate moments or the more eventful and traumatic, her life story really is a fascinating one and makes my life look very dull and boring in almost every way possible. At first, I didn't quite agree with all this timeline hopping, especially within the first hour of the story. For example, the first scenes of the game end up actually being the final events of the story, and then it skips back to Jodie infiltrating the embassy, then back to Jodie's childhood, and then to Jodie joining the CIA. I guess this serves as more of a tutorial more than anything, but it really took me out of the story for a moment. But after this first hour, the story really snuck up on me and became much more cohesive. If I was able to iron up the whole story in chronological order, I must say it's pretty darn airtight. I wasn't left in disbelief or confusion, and what I discovered was a story with a lot of heart, dripping in emotion, with some really unforgettable twists and endings that really blew my mind. So when it comes to the story, I'll be ending it right there. I actually revealed a bit too much, I think, but I really wanted to outline what Beyond was all about in a nutshell. So it seems that the story of Beyond Two Souls is really the polarizing factor when it comes to reviewing this game, which is quite odd, I think, because the story is really well paced. It's almost perfect, and whether or not you agree with David Cage's writing or his directions or his philosophy on gaming, I really have nothing to fault the story on, apart from that very first hour within game where it took me back and forth between a timeline in which I just wanted it to unfold naturally. I can really say that the story is flawless. I do have one exception when it comes to the story, and I think a lot of people might agree with me on this one, which is, I think if the story was placed in a very linear and a very normal style from her early childhood to her adolescence and then to her adult life, the story would have made sense. And because it's told in this in a fractured storyline spread over a timeline, it still makes sense to me, but I think the story could have benefited from just being simple. With all that said though, the story is pretty darn flawless. I have really nothing to complain about at all. Now, within this character section, I'm only going to be discussing Jodie, and I'm really sorry if that's not what you were expecting. And the reason why I only want to look at Jodie is because if I talk about other characters such as Nathan Dawkins and Aiden, it might be revealing too much about the story, so I'm just going to be focusing on Jodie. I hope you're ready to prepare yourself for a bit of a heart-to-heart. So the reason why I fell so hard with Jodie is that we share a very similar story. Ha ha ha. Having been taken away from my mother since I was a child, Jodie really is the first character in a game where I totally understood the way she felt. Our similar struggles dealing with loss and abandonment and accepting the fact that I was very different to other people was pretty striking. All but excluding the supernatural part, unfortunately. Sad face. Jodie's transitions from her early childhood to her teenage years were easily some of the most heartbreaking for me. Like Jodie's appearance at a party where the kids treated her like absolute shit. That was me. Like Jodie's first awkward date and fumbly kiss. That was me. Like Jodie's separation from her loved ones. That was also me too. She paints a perfect picture of a person struggling with her identity and differences, and I was totally with her and understood her pains and grievances. To praise her character even further, the extremely talented Ellen Page, who voices Jodie, sold every single line so convincingly and passionately, it made me feel numb. I knew this girl was something after watching Juno, and she delivers above and beyond, no pun intended. Other performances are equally impressive, from William Dafoe, who voices Nathan, and Kadeem Hardison, who voices Cole. So again, I'm really sorry I'm not going to be discussing any of the other secondary characters or characters who weave in and out of Jodie's life for the sake that I might spoil it for you guys. And that's all I really wanted to share. I hope you know me a little bit better. But this video is not about me, it's about Beyond Two Souls and about Jodie. And I was absolutely with Jodie. I wish she was a real person. My god, we'd make the best of friends, I think. So as stated earlier at the beginning of the review, I gave you a warning. This is going to be the only area where I bring Heavy Rain into the formula, so here goes. If Heavy Rain wasn't your forte concerning gameplay, then Beyond certainly will not change your mind, for it simply extends on this interactive mechanic. So if you don't like pressing a lot of buttons in rapid succession or using motions to do almost everything, well, that's tough. Although the core concept is the same, Beyond really tightens up the controls, and I found the gameplay very intuitive. Instead of just pressing buttons, what will happen is a white dot will appear on the screen, and you can interact with this dot at your leisure by using the right analog stick. It's really simple, but it really made it feel much more natural as opposed to just pressing random face buttons. The most refreshing part of the gameplay, however, is Jodie's ability to control Aiden. It was initially confusing for me at first, but it ended up being rather simple and surprisingly fluid. Aiden is able to manipulate objects within an environment. He's able to eavesdrop on conversations. You can possess certain characters, and will act as a conduit for Jodie to see premonitions by touching key objects. This can also be experienced with your significant other by choosing to play the 2-player mode, another wicked addition methinks. And finally, gameplay is extended even further with Jodie being able to use vehicles, and the game dons an almost normal third-person perspective, especially in the army levels I found. This caught me off guard, but in the very best possible ways. So whether or not you like the concept of Heavy Rain, Beyond Two Souls really isn't going to change your mind, because it really does deliver the same exact experience, but still manages to exceed my expectations by giving us a newer level of freedom, which is quite fascinating, and it still manages to keep its identity as an interactive drama, and for that, no complaints. For the first time in my gaming life, I was speechless when I saw the visuals of this game. Not only did it exceed Heavy Rain in the motion performance capture, it totally delivered on quality, delivery, and experience. Beyond absolutely blew me away in this department and showed me just how good the team at Quantic Dreams actually are. Everything looks so photorealistic that it was almost quite eerie. The subtle shifts in emotions are so evident here, with incredible detailing put on skin and hair textures, right down to the eyes, lips, and tear tracks on a character's face. The stellar performance capture also provides us with an unprecedented body language animations that complements the actors' brilliant performances. Environments are also expertly rendered and crafted, and provides us with a surprising amount of variation. From the desolate landscapes of a desert to frigid ice fields and decadent interiors of Jodie's apartment, everything screams personality and quality. I only had one small gripe, and it really doesn't count as a visual fault at all, but I found that the game would pause in places where a lot of visual cues came into effect, most notably the condenser and mission episodes. It wasn't a complete deal breaker, but it really did pull me out of the experience ever so slightly. But this complaint I have is merely like throwing a pebble into a tornado. So what I hope that Beyond Two Souls does, which it definitely proved to me, was that games could look this good. I didn't know games could look this good on a PS3, and I think Beyond Two Souls is just one of those games that are going to be a bar setter. And because we're moving into the next generation of console hardware, I really do have high expectations for the next generation, because if this is what the PS3 can do, I don't ever want to change. The game's soundtrack was initially going to be planned to be scored by Norman Corbell, who is the composer for the Heavy Rain score. But because he unfortunately died earlier on this year with his fight with cancer, the reins have been handed over to Lorne Balfe and his longtime collaborator Hans Zimmer. And oh my god, how stunning could the soundtrack get? It was so beautiful. Yeah, I'm a real sucker for a depressing and moody soundtrack, but Beyond's score is so much more spiritual and reflective than most scores I've heard. It's simply flawless. The best track in the score, within my own humble opinion, is a track called Dawkin's Suite, which really represents the tone of the game superbly. I would describe it as having a very simple duet arrangement with a violin and piano, and then it builds up to a whopping orchestra crescendo. Other tracks of note were the spine-tingling title screen theme called Jodie's Suite, and the eloquent Childhood Memories. Of course, there are more powerful tracks such as the Infraworld and Haunted, which provides you with some heart-stopping moments that makes me feel strangely panicky. The soundtrack is a stunning extension to this game, and it will linger within your subconscious for many listens to come. It's, again, a flawless piece of work. So, my summary of Beyond Two Souls is I'm going to be giving it a glowing review. Absolutely, not only did it deliver from a narrative's perspective, but also from a character's perspective, from a gameplay perspective, and a soundtrack's perspective. It grew in so many different ways, but in the best possible ways. So for those gamers who don't classify interactive dramas as a video game, I must say you're really missing out on something special, because if you like a story-driven game, look no further than Beyond Two Souls. Of course, we've got other great examples to lead by, such as Heavy Rain, The Last of Us. These are all prime examples of why every person or every gamer should own a PS3, and you really, really should. We're coming up to the next generation. Consoles are going to be coming a lot cheaper. What are you waiting for? So because Beyond Two Souls has so few blemishes to show for itself, yes, it absolutely has exceeded all of my expectations. And because I'm so set in my ways, and because I'm really quite, what's the word? Biased. The Last of Us has already taken my Game of the Year trophy. Quite simply, it's one of the most fantastic games I've ever played. But, Beyond Two Souls comes dangerously close to becoming #1. And actually, I would put them in a tie, but like I said before, I'm biased. Beyond Two Souls definitely does come second. No ifs, no buts. So that was it. That was my review for Beyond Two Souls. I hope you enjoyed it. I had a good time delivering this review. I was so excited to talk about it. Are you guys excited to talk about it? If so, let me know in the comment section below. If you'd like, you can also follow me on Facebook and Twitter. All the links will be in the description below. So thank you again for watching this review. I'm approaching 100 subscribers, which doesn't sound like a lot, but it means a lot to me, and I just really want to take the time now to say thank you to everyone who has watched all my videos, or any of my videos. It really means a lot to dear old Trent. Anyway, I shall see you in my next video, which should be at my new house. This is quite exciting. So I probably won't be seeing you for another week and a half or so. But till then, take care of yourselves, and I shall see you next time.